Hey guys, this is the Perfect Squares and Exponents help video for the Desmos assignment that we started in class and maybe you didn't finish. Okay, so before we go over this Desmos, I want to point you to this yellow folder in your Schoology course, which is Math Binder Notes and Videos. This perfect square chart I asked you to finish on your own time. This is the chart that is behind your multiplication table. And the thing is, it also includes from 13 squared down to 20 squared. So you probably know your 12s, your facts up to your 12s pretty well, since that's what you've been practicing in elementary school. But you really need to know your first 20 perfect squares. Okay, so if you take some time to try to remember 13 square, 14 square, up to 20 square, these last 7, or at least be able to recognize them, okay? Okay, but you can use, especially for classwork, you are allowed to use your notes, your resources, and exponents, you actually also get to use a calculator. So I would use the Desmos calculator, which is linked in Clever, because that is the official calculator. But if you have a handheld one, it'll work for now. Okay, so feel free to use your notes and your resources, especially if you are your multiplication facts aren't very strong. Okay, so be studying this chart. Okay, for this first slide, and actually for most Desmos, if you have some sort of matching activity, it can be a little bit overwhelming with all the cards. So my tips for you is to click on these arrows to use your full screen so you have space to move your cards. And I would also get in the habit of organizing your cards a little bit so it's easier for you to make your matches and it's easier for you to see all the answers and all the questions. Okay, so I'm just taking some time now to organize my screen. This is also one of those assignments that is much easier to do if you have a mouse. So if you don't have one of these computer mice, I would highly recommend getting one, especially at a virtual school. We do a lot of clicking and dragging around. Okay, so here are all of my questions. I see my number with an exponent. Remember, the exponent is that small little baby number right there. This is the big base. And then these are our answers. And exponents symbolize repeated multiplication. So I am multiplying my big base, this large number, my 8, this many times. Okay, so 8 to the power of 2 means I'm multiplying 8 2 times. 8 times 8. Big mistake is a lot of people want to say it's 8 times 2, but 8 times 2 is 16, and we know 8 times 8 is 64. That's a very different answer. So you're multiplying your base the number of times of your exponent. Okay, so 8 squared is 8 times 8, which is 64. Okay, so when you're making your matches, 8 times 8 is 64. Also, remember that you can't just put your answer card really close. You have to actually stack them. Okay, like this. Stack the cards on top of each other. And if you need to remove a card because maybe you mismatched, you have to drag it from the bottom off. Okay, so if you have a bunch of cards here, won't let you move that 64. You got to drag from the bottom. Okay, so make sure you stack your cards, make that match, and then this arrow will pop up. You can also click on that arrow to hide your match because this pile is done. I've already made my match. Okay. Where is my... Oh, there we go. Here's my pen. Okay. Another way we can read this is 7 squared, and that is what you're going to see most often. 7 squared means 7 times 7. If you have an exponent of a 2, we say that it is squared, because this is a perfect square, 7 by 7. If you have an exponent of 3, we say it's cubed. Okay, we looked at those in our notes. 7 squared, 7 times 7. 5 squared, 5 times 5. 9 squared, 9 times 9. Okay, so these are all perfect squares, actually, because they all have an exponent of 2. 6 squared, 4 squared, 2 squared, 2 by 2. 10 squared is a 10 by 10. And if you don't know these facts, you can't do this in your head, then check your work. Look at your study sheet in your math binder. Okay, so I'm actually not going to make these pairs for you, but I just wanted to show you how you determine the answer. Okay, the next slide, and remember, you can always pause these videos if I'm going too fast. The next slide has the second half of our multiplication of our perfect square chart. Okay, so these are the larger exponents. I shouldn't say exponents, larger perfect squares that you might not know. So you really want to have your study chart, your study sheet close by so that you can check your work. I'm just organizing my screen again. I'm putting all of my exponents on one side. I have all my answers on the left. But again, these are perfect squares. We know what this means. 15 squared. How do we determine 15 squared? That's a 15 two times. 15 times 15. 11 squared. 11 times 11. 16 squared. 16 times 16. Okay, and so forth. Okay, I'm not going to solve these out for you. I want you to get in the habit of being as independent as you can. Look at your sheet. If you didn't finish your sheet, now would be a good time to finish your sheet. It's all posted in Schoology. Okay, so base is what's being multiplied, the big base. Exponent is how many times. Okay, slide 3, you're going to just rate how you feel about your understanding of perfect squares. If you'd like to say more about this response, you can tell me in the box. All right, slide 4 and 5 are more about exponents. Each pile is going to have 3 cards. It's going to have an exponent, expanded form, and the answer. So I'm going to organize my screen just like I did before. These are different size cards. So some of them are pretty large. I'm going to start with my exponent just because it says each pile has an exponent. Exponent, exponent, I see an exponent. Here's an exponent. So it looks like I should have 4 piles of 3. Okay, so those are on my exponent cards. Oh, here's one that actually got stuck. Expanded form. Expanded form is what it looks like when it's expanded out. What you would type into the calculator. What it actually means with the multiplication. Okay, so 5 squared, let's work on these namings. 5 squared, or 5 to the power of 2, means I'm multiplying 5 2 times. 5 times 5. This is expanded form. 10 to the power of 6, or 10 to the 6th power, means I'm multiplying 10 6 times. 2 to the power of 4 means I'm multiplying 2, the big number, 4 times. And then 3 to the power of 3, or 3 cubed, is 3 times. And then the last card is the answer. So actually type it into the calculator. What is 5 times 5? What is 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10? What is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2? And 3 times 3 times 3? You're going to have 2 extra cards that you don't touch. Just leave them off to the side. You don't have to stack them. Okay, one more screen. Same thing. Each set will contain 3 cards. Exponent, expanded form, and the answer. Okay, I only see 3 exponents this time, so I should have 3 piles. Let's figure it out in expanded form. I have big base 7 squared. How many times? 2 times. 7 times 7. Oh, look here. 7 times 2. That's meant to throw you off. Exponents will never be 7 times 2, okay? This is not 12 times 3. You will never multiply the base with the exponent. It is the base, the exponent number of times. So this 7 times 2 is really meant to throw you off. So don't let that trick you. Just put them off to the side. Don't use them. 11 cubed is 11 3 times. Now I see this card right here. I see this one's 11 3 times, but what's wrong with this? It's addition. Okay, exponents are always repeated multiplication. So also put this card off to the side. Meant to throw you off. Don't use them. And then 12 cubed, 12 3 times. There we go. So now all you have left is the answer. Oh, here's another one that's meant to throw you off. Not 11 times 3. Okay, 11 3 times. Put them off to the side. So now you have to match your answers. Plug it into the calculator. Figure out what your answer is. And you were done. Okay, slide 6 is just a reflection. Tell me how you feel about exponents. Type what you like to say. Did you like this type of activity? Did you really not like this type of activity? Whatever you'd like to tell me, put in there. And then you're done. You can exit out of Desmos. You don't need to submit them in Schoology. I will be able to see all your slides and your answers. Okay, I hope that helped you guys. Bye.